This program is a paid commercial announcement and in no way represents the views of WPHT or its management.
Now on Talk Radio 1210, WPHT, WPHT HD, WOGL HD3 Philadelphia. Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor.
If we don't move in our own direction, we're going to become extinct. In fact, in some cases, we're close to being extinct right now.
Presented by Weinerman Pain and Wellness, serious doctors for serious injuries, and powered by the law offices of Pond, Lehocky, Stern, Giordano. Talk, listen, and speak to the region's most influential leaders. It's Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor.
Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. A good Saturday evening, everybody, and a good Saturday evening, Delaware Valley. Welcome into Saturday Night Live as we broadcast to you live on a great night in Center City. And we come to you from the 1210 studios down at 400 Market Street. J-Doc, you're not at the 1210 studios today. I'm lost, man. I'm looking around. I can't find you. Where are you, brother?
Well, I'll tell you, Krause, I'm out of town on business. Actually, on my way back, I wanted to be there, but unfortunately, things took a little bit longer than I had hoped. But I'm glad to be coming to you on the mobile phone here, and you know, it's second best. I know you can handle it, buddy.
I'll do my best without you in the studio, J-Doc, but as you know, when we normally begin the big show on a Saturday night, we always set our table, we always break bread, we always position our audience to understand the conversation that we are about to get into. Tonight, we've got a real treat, so we'll begin with our normal drum roll. All right, that's a new drum roll, and I love it. And J-Doc, we're proud. In studio tonight is Jordan Cooper, who is the general manager at Sonesta Hotel, Sonesta, Philadelphia. He is in studio with us tonight, not only to break bread and be part of the introduction and part of the conversation, but we're thrilled to bring him on, and we want to introduce him to the entire Delaware Valley, Union community, and the rest of the Delaware Valley tuning into the big show tonight.
Absolutely. So I'm ecstatic to bring on Jordan Cooper, general manager of Sonesta, our best of labor hotel and event space, a 100% union operation, conveniently located in Center City, Philadelphia, on Market Street. Unbelievable location. Ruth Chris right there, right inside the building. So proud to have Sonesta and Jordan Cooper and the entire Sonesta Philadelphia team as one of our sponsors on Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor. We couldn't be more proud, and an unbelievable place. We can't wait to show it to the Delaware Valley as part of our Union Leader Roundtable segments and a bunch of other stuff. So welcome aboard, Jordan.
Jordan, welcome aboard, sir.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Joe. It's a pleasure. It's an honor. We're really proud to be the hotel partner with Philly Saturday Night Live, PhillyLabor, and looking forward to great things in the future.
Let's jump in and learn a little bit about you, Jordan, as you join us for just a few moments to kick off the big show. You got involved with Saturday Night Live. I know when J-Doc and when we first connected with you, there was a real passion. There was a real reason for you to want to support and want to get involved in the community. Tell me about it.
Well, we have two. You know, we have Teamsters 463 and Unite Here 274 in the building, so we have great relations with them. And but my dad was in a union. My dad was an organizer with the American Federation of Teachers, and I remember when I was a kid, one night he said to me, "Tomorrow you're taking the bus to school." This is in Brooklyn, New York, it's public transportation. And he said, "When you get to the school, you'll probably see your teachers walking outside with picket signs, and if you do, don't get off. Go to the next stop." And which I thought, you know, as a seventh grader, this is great. I don't have to go to school and get on the bus, come home, and you're off for the day. So it turned out to be 3 days. And, you know, I'd wondered for a couple of months, there were people coming over the house, meeting with my dad, sitting around the dining room, drinking coffee, smoking cigarettes. I didn't know what they were doing. I got introduced to everybody because that was part of the house rules. But, you know, afterwards, my dad explained to me why they were doing this, why it was important that they became a union. And that was simply that the Board of Education of the City of New York would not talk to them. So what he told me was, always have a conversation with people, develop relationships, treat people with respect. You'll be treated with respect. Be fair and open. You're not always going to agree with what they say. They're not always going to agree with what you say, but you can find some common ground if you have a conversation.
Jordan Cooper joining us on the show. J-Doc, I've got to give you some radio etiquette when you're on the road. Put your phone on mute when you're not speaking, because we're picking up all that background air that's in your car. So when not speaking, always mute your phone. That's your lesson for the day.
Well, I'm a rookie, and I had it on. I had it on mute for a second there, Joe. Sorry about that. But no, listening to Jordan, it's amazing. That story. It shows you that he obviously cares about when you talk about union. You're not just talking about, so people understand. Talk about fair wages, fair conditions, offering your employees benefits, and so learning those values at a young age, and then being involved in one of the best hotels in the city of Philadelphia. And when you're at Sonesta, not only do you get incredible service and an unbelievable, establishment. Let's not forget about the event space, incredible. But you know that the employees there are being treated fairly, are being, have benefits. So, you're not only talking the talk, you're walking the walk. And so it's a great story, Jordan, number one. And number two, we got to, can't wait to showcase Sonesta Philadelphia. Because, man, did we get a treat when we were there, Joe? And were we treated really well? And that's what people get to expect when they patronize the place.
Tell us about that, Jordan. Give our audience an introduction to Sonesta. I always ask the audience to close your eyes for a moment and use the theater of the mind to imagine and to envision what our message, what we're trying to deliver. Tell us a little bit about the Sonesta.
Well, as Johnny said earlier, we're a great location at 18th and Market, 2 blocks from Rittenhouse Square. So for shopping, restaurants, that's just 2 blocks away. We have 439 guest rooms, so we're the 5th largest hotel in the city. We have a great lobby bar where if you show your union card, you get a 20% discount, which is always a nice benefit. If you want to stay at the hotel and you call our reservations office or go online and just if online you enter in union or you mention union, there's a special union rate for union members, so that's a good benefit as well. As as John was mentioning about the meeting space, we have 16,000 square feet of space. We can accommodate groups up to 300 for dinner. We have 11 smaller rooms. The room that John was in, that you were in, that the AFSCME meeting was in, is our boardroom, which overlooks Market Street. So it's a wall of windows with all that natural light. And we have another room right next to it that can seat about 40 people with that same characteristic overlooking Market Street. We also have a seasonal outdoor venue, which is our pool deck, which is a great spot for cocktail parties and receptions.
All right, good stuff. You're going to hear a lot about Sonesta Philadelphia. Jordan Cooper joining us here tonight. And on behalf of the entire community, on behalf of Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor, we welcome you on board, and we thank you so much, Jordan, for coming in the studio.
Thank you, Joe. It's great to be partnered with you and looking forward to a great year.
All right, good stuff. J-Doc, I'm going to leave you on hold. We're going to take our first commercial break of the big show here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Thanks so much for tuning in on a Saturday night. When we come back, we'll set the table. We've got a couple of great guests in the studio, a couple of political guests on the other side at the bottom of the hour. We'll deal with all of that when we come back. Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Shout out to all of our listeners tonight out in Media, Delaware County, tuning into the big show. Thank you very much for tuning in on Talk Radio 1210. Special thanks to Jordan Cooper, the general manager of Sonesta Philadelphia, our new partner, our new best of the best with PhillyLabor, and we're glad to have Jordan on board, and you'll hear a lot more about the Sonesta as we roll on over the next year. Our special feature, our special show tonight falls under the headline or under the topic of women in labor and politics. So we've got a great 43 minutes for you, so please stay with us. Women in labor labor and politics. In the studio tonight, the Vice President of AFSCME District Council 47, Ethelind Baylor, is here. Hello, Ethelind. How are you?
I'm doing well this evening. Thank you very much.
And thanks for being here. And you look great sitting in that chair in the studio, so thank you so much for coming in the studio. You got a big smile, and you're thrilled to be here, and we're thrilled to have you. So thank you very much. Laura Wentz is with us as well, president of PhillyCLUW. She has done this many times before. But Laura, every time we welcome you into the program, every time you come into the studio, you come with a mission, you come with an objective, you come with the story, and you come with changing the narrative, which is why I was excited when J-Doc was able to say that you were going to join us in the studio. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It's awesome to be here in the brand new studio. That it's my first time here, so this is really awesome and exciting to check out the new digs. So this is fabulous.
And we're thrilled, and we
ready
appreciate
to rock it out.
Yeah, and we appreciate being here for sure. Later on in the broadcast, Jannie Blackwell, Philly City Councilwoman Jannie Blackwell, will be along, and then later on, Pennsylvania State Representative Leanne Krueger-Braneky will join us, and she will be here as well. So we've got a lot to do in 42 minutes. Ethelind, let's start with you.
Sure thing.
Under the topic, or under the headline, Women in Labor and Politics. That carries a heavy burden.
Yes, it does.
Tell me about it.
It carries a heavy burden because I don't think women are really given opportunities to join the labor movement in or to be a part of politics. I don't think women are supported. If you look at what's going on around us today, if you look at Congress, if you look at the Senate, if you look at the House, it's heavily populated, even in the labor movement, heavily populated with men. So I really think in terms of women in politics, I think that we need to train, recruit, and activate women and really be supportive to them.
Now, you've been involved in the space. How long?
For a number of years. I've been with the city for over 15 years. I knew that from the very start that it was very important for me to get involved with the labor movement. I supported my husband for a number of years. We had a growing family, small kids, raising 5 kids. So it wasn't until they started growing and I had to support a family that I was able to really step from behind the shadows. And I wanted to join my husband. I didn't want us to kind of like grow apart. I wanted us to grow together in this labor movement. So I began to be supportive in a different way to different labor leaders. And I got involved with Next Wave, which was an initiative from AFSCME International to train, recruit, and really activate and provide a space for the next generation of labor leaders, 35 and under. Although I have a gray head of full hair, I grade early. So, it was a great opportunity for me to get involved. 15
years ago, I guess, is when you started, right? Now,
yes.
15 years later, you find yourself still having the same conversation? Is it different today than it was 15 years ago, or is it the same?
No, I think it's really the same conversation. Although I was given this opportunity, right? I think there are a lot of next wavers who are not given the opportunity. I think it's like we want to keep you in this box. We want to train and keep you, say you need more training and it's not your time yet, or we haven't really found a space for you really to grow. And I find that there's a lot of people that need an opportunity.
Let's bring Laura Wentz into the conversation. Go ahead, Laura.
You're right on target because that's exactly where CLUW came around. CLUW came into existence because women weren't being given the opportunity to run for office in their unions, and and the only job they could run for was recording secretary, right? Because that was a stereotypical woman job, right? So in 1974, they had a convention in Chicago. They expected maybe 700 people to show up. Well, 3,000 women and a few men showed up. They were sleeping all over the convention center. They were sleeping, everywhere, on the exhibit floor, everywhere, to make sure that women had a place to run for office, to be engaged, to become leaders, to empower others to become leaders, to bring the women's issues to the table.
Tell me, for the benefit of those who may not know, PhillyCLUW means what?
So CLUW is Coalition Labor Union Women. We are a co-ed coalition fighting for women's rights, union rights, worker rights, human rights, and Mother Earth's rights throughout the country and the world. And so it started in 1974. The PhillyCLUW chapter started in 1975. and we're still going strong. And actually, in 2016, we formed 2 chapters in our surrounding counties, the Neshaminy-Bucks CLUW and the Delaware-Chester County CLUW chapter.
All right, let's bring into the conversation J-Duck, because I know we only have a couple of minutes left with him, and I know he's holding on. We're in the middle of a conversation with Laura Wentz, who's in the studio, and Ethelind Baylor as well in the studio, under the title for Saturday Night Live tonight, Women in Labor and Politics. J-Duck, I bring you back into the conversation. Boy, I wish you were here to partake in the full 40 minutes or so that we're going to do, but I know you wanted to weigh in. Thanks for holding on. J-Doc, you still with us?
Absolutely. One of the things that I wanted to ask Laura and Ethelind, especially since, there's a lot of women listening, the challenges when you typically, stereotypically, and one of the we've done the CLUW segments for a long time, and they've been incredible. But the stereotypes, and with men mostly, supposedly mostly being in out in the field in labor unions, and then in leadership roles. What challenges did you face? A, when you first got in the union, and B, when you decided to run for leadership roles.
Ethelind, let's start with you.
Well, I think that some of the challenges that I faced going into the labor movement is that, as Laura stated, it was like women are to play their part. Women are to be the cheerleaders of play the supportive role, secretary treasurer, and again, just to help the men be great. And I think that was one of the challenges that I faced when I first came on. One of the challenges that I'm facing now, as an African American woman and a leader in the labor movement, I think is just being supported in the sense of knowing that I am qualified. I went to school. I have a master's degree in organizational and strategic leadership. I'm qualified to do the job, to bring people together. But I think that there's still a lack of support for me in this role of being a labor leader. And again, sometimes sitting at the table, being a visionary, I see things and I see the way we should be moving and operating and how we could really be effective. But it's like some people want to keep you in a box. Your idea is not supported, or it's almost like you have to play this role. It's at the tail end of the day, we have to do what's right. And it's just about how to get from point A to point B, and sometimes not conforming to any type of rules.
Laura, how do you get from when you're moving from A to B? How do you change the narrative?
Well, one of the things that you're pointing out is one of the reasons why it's hard for women to run for office, right? So women need to be asked at least 7 times to run for office, because they are trapped in those boxes where they wake up in the morning, they don't think they're qualified, they think about all the other things they have to do, all their responsibilities to their family, to their household, to paying the bills, to covering everything, as well as, are they qualified? Do they have the background? Do they have the skill? Do they have the knowledge? And so I'm asking all the women out there that are listening, first of all, I'm saying you are qualified to run for any office you want to run for. And I'm asking you to run for office because we need you to run for office. Women, as she was saying, has a different perspective. We see things in a different way. We encompass not just one value or one view. We see the bigger picture most of the time. And so we're bringing the bigger picture to the table. So when you don't have women or anyone of diversity at your table of leadership, then it's a very restricted way of leading. And that's one of the things I'm a union stagehand. I'm a theatrical lighting designer and a member of IATSE Local 8, the stagehand union here in Philadelphia. And for the longest time, it was just white men. And when they added variety, it was younger white men, and they only empowered those who look like them. So this year, a lot of changes has happened in my local in the last couple of years. And this year we have African-American male on our executive board. We had the largest election of 22 candidates for our executive board. I was the only woman running. I didn't win, but that's okay. It was a very broad election that had major diversity represented from our local running for executive board. And then we also have a woman who is the business agent of our local. So we have our first business agent, and we have our first African-American male as an executive, or no, he's not the first, but he's, it's nice to have a black man back into the equation. And I'm taking my CLUW hat off for a second, if I may.
Well, hold on. I don't want
or
you
I
to,
won't do that yet.
I don't want
I'll
you to
go
do that
back.
for a moment.
We'll go back.
I want to go back. I want you to come back to me with 30 to 45 seconds on this. And then, Ethelind, I want you to weigh in.
Yeah.
Under women in labor and politics, you made a statement: women must run for office, or must be told to run for office 7 times, or be asked to run for office 7 times.
Yes.
Explain that. I know it's hard to do in a short period of time, but what does that mean?
So, because we don't believe it the first time. The first time someone asks you to run for office, you're like, I don't know. I have all these responsibilities. So I'm asking you, please run for office. If you're a woman out there, you hear my voice, please run for office.
Well, I would definitely say agree with Laura. I had to be asked several times to run for office whenever I was first asked. And I had to go home and really have an honest discussion with my husband, have an honest discussion with my kids. It's a lot of late nights. It's a lot of sharing of yourself with other people. So you have to be asked several times before you run. But I'm so glad I made that decision.
Follow up to that, Ethelind. Asked because why? You personally needed to be convinced, or you had reservations yourself?
A lot comes with a job. This is a job that you must take serious. It's big responsibilities. And I think as a woman, you can't take that lightly. You still have a responsibility to your family. I'm still raising, I have a senior in high school right now and an 8th grader. So I can't just let things fall by the wayside. I still have a responsibility at home as well. But I just wanted to know that I would be supported, because again, I don't think women are supported once we get into office. It's like, okay, we got you there. There you are. Now we just expect you to do what you do,
right.
or just sit there and do nothing. But I think that I needed support, and the biggest support sometimes come from your family when you don't get it from anywhere else.
Let's bring J-Doc back into the conversation before we say goodbye to him. J-Doc, I'll give you last word with Ethelind and Laura on the conversation. We're going to continue, but I give you last word to weigh in.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's incredible. I think I'm loving what I'm hearing. Number one, I'd like to ask them both, and I know. We've done segments with Laura and PhillyCLUW on outreach programs because, like Laura said, she's a member of IATSE 8, which is a building trades union. And so talk about breaking the stereotypes. And so unions like that progressing the movement, unbelievable. And so one of the things we've talked about in the past, and I'd like to ask both Laura and Ethelind, as I leave, with this segment and with your outreach, are you proud to be, and is one of your goals to be an example to young women out there who may not have thought of getting in a union or getting in a building trades union or taking a leadership role?
Of course, definitely. Because you know what? We lead by example. We need to step up and lead by example. Women are, yes, I'm often the only woman on a job. It's very rare. If we have one show, we had 10 women working on a job together. We were actually very happy to be able to work with each other because we lift things differently than the guys do. We carry things differently. We move differently. And it's a lot easier to work with a woman than it is to work with a guy. But yet, of course, we work with the guys all the time because they're awesome and they know what I'm capable of, and they will work with me, help me when I need help, and back off when I don't. And so that's awesome.
Ethelind?
So in the space that I am, I definitely, as an educator, I definitely believe in the trades as well as in labor. So I feel like it's my job to really be a role model, encourage people who are coming behind me to look at jobs in the labor movement. There is opportunity there. And in terms of running for office, what my goal is, as the political director, I would like to see more people from labor get into office. I would like to see more people run. There's a space where there's still some next wavers behind me. I want to create opportunities for them to run for office.
Yeah, we need them to run for office within their unions. We need them to run for office on the political side. There's election board in your polling stations. They're up for re-election right now this fall. So if there's no one running as a judge of elections or inspector at your polling station, you should run. You only got to work 2 days out of the year. You need to do it. Well, so run for office.
On Talk Radio 1210 WPHT, as we go to the break and say goodbye to J-Doc, I imagine somewhere close to 50% of the listening audience on this big radio station is female. So I go into the break with this request or this ask, courtesy of Laura Wentz and Ethelind for being in the studio. We encourage women to run for office under our conversation tonight. Women in labor and politics. We'll continue the dialogue on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Back in a moment. Back here live on Saturday Night Live on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT, presented by Weinerman Pain and Wellness. Serious doctors for serious injuries, powered by Pond, Lehocky, Stern, and Giordano. Thanks very much for tuning in. Also fueled by Sonesta of Philadelphia. Special thanks again to Jordan Cooper, the general manager of the hotel, for coming into the big show tonight. And also a special thanks to J-Doc, who could not make it into the studio. J-Doc, you know I love you and I miss your brother. Sorry he can't be here for what is a great conversation and a great topic. The subject of the conversation tonight is women in labor and politics. Laura Wentz is in the studio, president of PhillyCLUW. Ethelind Baylor in the studio as well, vice president, AFSCME District Council 47, and joining us now on the hotline, Philly City Councilwoman Jannie Blackwell is joining us, and we bring her into the dialogue. Hello, Councilwoman. How are you?
Oh, just fine. And how are you?
We're all well for a Saturday night, and glad you can take a moment to weigh in on our conversation tonight, women in labor and politics. And if I can just boldly and emphatically say, Jannie, I guess you represent somebody over a 30-year career that has a reputation that far exceeds everything that you've done. You've done such incredible work in the city of Philadelphia. I want to tee that question up to you, or that statement, women in labor and women in politics, with the statement from Laura Wentz that women need to be encouraged to run for office at least 7 times. Jannie, you say what?
I think that sounds great. I've been around for 40 years, and I succeeded Lucian Blackwell in '92, and I came with him when he came with Rizzo January 3rd, 1976. So I'm for women running. I'm for them participating. I know what we can do, and I know that we deserve the opportunity to participate as much as possible.
So, Councilwoman Blackwell, your story is similar to mine in the sense that you were supportive to your husband, and then you, as you stated, far exceeded him in everything that you're doing. What would be your recommendation to a younger woman coming into office, and what type of support could you offer?
Well, we have a lot of interns. I talk to a lot of people. A lot of people want advice. And we're happy to talk to them. And I would tell them, as I heard a little earlier, you know, in politics, people who want to run in the polling place if there's a vacancy, and certainly they can approach ward leaders if they don't know who their committee person is or if they think there's none. There's so many ways to participate. They can come to City Council on Thursday to hear what issues we talk about, and then they can approach either their councilperson or some councilperson who's dealt with an issue that they think affects their lives. There's so many ways to be involved. And so we ask people, if something interests you and you hear that some elected official is involved on any level, local, state, or federal, you know, go there. Go to that. It's like I tell kids who are looking for, who think they may want a career choice, but they're not sure. Go there, volunteer, or show up and talk to that person. Getting involved is the key to everything when it comes to politics, and certainly when it comes to labor. You know, Philly's a labor town, as you know.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And we're very, very proud of the fact that it is a labor town, and we want even more women involved in labor as well.
Philly City Councilwoman Jannie Blackwell joining us here on Saturday Night Live, here on Talk Radio 1210. I know Laura wants to weigh in, Councilwoman, but let me ask you first, and then Laura, you can follow up on this. Is there, Jannie, is there an old boys network? Is there a fear out there that if you're a woman that you should avoid getting in the space, that you will not have success changing the narrative?
Well, you know, that's old-time thinking, and people who would talk that way, They're people who are old school. That day is over.
Way over.
Yes.
Yes.
I agree, 100%. And it's over partially because of the work that you've been doing. You've been breaking glass ceilings. You've been, that's one of the things that you've been doing. That's one of the things Ethelind's been doing. Our goal is to change the narrative, right? Women have so much to add to the equation, and we need to just get out there and keep doing it. Because, yes, there's the old boys club. Well, it's only worked so far. They only got so far. But the reality is we have something to share. We have something to do. We are strong, hardworking women. We know our skill. We know what we got to do. We have the knowledge to do it, and we do a really good job. And a lot of jobs that I go on as a stagehand, if someone sees me just for the fact that I'm a woman, certain road crew members want to work with me because they know I'll retain the information and do it correctly. And a lot, our guys are awesome. They work hard, but we just have a little bit of a knack sometimes that they don't necessarily have.
Jannie, you say what?
Oh, I agree. I just left an affair at Shorewood's Gym in my area, 41st in Brooklyn. They gave me an award, called me upstairs in the boxing ring, and they said, "Thank you, Honorable Jannie L. Blackwell, for all you do for Shorewood's Gym and all you have done." Now, in the past, do you think that I'm not a boxer. My husband was involved in it, and I stay involved, and we have a boxing tournament in his name every year. But Shorewood didn't have to surprise me with an award, and a lot of people would say, how could you as a woman get an award when we're dealing with boxing? As you had said, everything's changed. We women know who we are. We know we're ready. We want to be involved, and we look forward to doing all that is possible because we can do it.
And we're fired up and ready to go.
I agree.
Councilwoman Jannie Blackwell joining us here on Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. It certainly was hard to put 40 years of experience in 9 minutes, Councilwoman, but you did a great job delivering home the message. Thank you so much.
Thank you for including me. God bless you all.
Thank you.
Thanks for all that you do.
Good stuff. Okay. Before we go to the break. I thought that Councilwoman Jannie Blackwell did a good job with nailing where we are today. And based on that, I have to push back, Ethelind, and I have to ask you now.
Yes, sir.
Why do women still need to be asked up to 7 times?
Well, I think women have to be asked 7 times because when you look around, you do not see many people in this space like you. So I think that's why women have to be asked 7 times. We have to be convinced that we can get in there. And as I'm going to put a little boxing layman terms on this because Councilwoman Blackwell was just talking about the boxing ring, but you need some support to feel like you can get in that ring and knock somebody out in boxing and give you some support to do what it is you need to do to be impactful in the space that you're in.
Laura, you get last word, 30 seconds.
I agree 100%. And, it's just a matter of believing in yourself. So if you're a woman, you're listening, believe in yourself. I believe in you. You can do it. You can do anything you set your mind to, and you will succeed. And go for it and rock it out and run for office. I'm asking you to run for office. I need you to run for office.
Our subject of conversation tonight is women in labor and politics. It's Saturday Night Live here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Thanks so much for tuning in to the big show. Don't go anywhere. When we come back after the break, our final segment, we'll welcome into the conversation Pennsylvania State Rep Leanne Krueger-Braneky. She'll join us and she'll join into the conversation as we roll on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. I'm back here live on Saturday Night Live here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT on a Saturday night in the Delaware Valley where it got up to 88 degrees today. The second day of fall, and we had 88-degree temperature. Special thanks to Philadelphia City Councilwoman Jannie Blackwell for giving us a few minutes on a Saturday night. And after 40 years of hard work on changing the narrative, I'll take 8 minutes from Jannie Blackwell, and we thank her for joining us on the big show today. Women in Labor and Politics is the conversation. Laura Wentz is in the studio. Laura is president of PhillyCLUW. Ethelind Baylor is in the studio as well. She is the vice president President of AFSCME District Council 47, weighing in on the conversation now. Leanne Krueger-Braneky, Pennsylvania State Representative, joining us on the hotline, and she's with us. Hello, Leanne. How are you? Welcome in to Saturday Night Live with PhillyLabor.
Thank you. It's great to be with you this evening.
Nice to have you, and let me get you, Leanne, quickly to go on record and weigh in as we began this conversation 47 minutes ago with women in labor and politics. That's the headline or the highlight of the conversation. I want to give you an open microphone and give you an open floor and give you 75 seconds or 90 seconds to weigh in just on what that means to someone like yourself who's involved in politics, working hard to change that narrative.
Well, thank you so much. I'm Leanne Krueger-Braneky. I'm a state representative in the 161st District in Delaware County, and I was elected to the State House 2 years ago in a special election. When I won that election in 2015, I became the first woman to ever hold my seat, and I now serve on a number of committees in Harrisburg, including the Labor Committee, where we're fighting hard to support the rights of working families and organized labor. So I'm grateful to be on the call tonight and hope I can contribute to the conversation.
I'm going to ask you, Ben, I know Laura wants to jump in, but I want to tee you up to lead you right into Laura Wentz. Part of the narrative or part of the conversation tonight, Leanne, has been Laura's emphatic request to get more women engaged in running for office. And the reference has been made multiple times tonight that women need to be asked to run 7 times before they'll get engaged or before they'll actually do it. You say what?
Well, that's absolutely true. There's research that shows that women need to be asked 7 times before they really consider running, whereas men don't have that same issue. In fact, we see lots of men these days who wake up and suddenly want to run for Congress or even President of the United States. But women need to feel that they're ready. They need to feel that they are the right candidate for the position, and they also need to believe that they can win. They're often not willing to just put their name on the ballot if it's not a race that they can win. And we absolutely need women to run in Pennsylvania. I agree with everything that Laura's been saying. We're number 49th in the country for percentage of women in elected office. That's 49 out of 50. The only state worse than us right now is Mississippi. And so we've got a lot of ground to make up here in Pennsylvania.
And that's one of the amazing reasons why I asked you to come and talk to us tonight, because you are actually one of my mentors. It's an honor to work with you every day and all the amazing things that you're doing for us out on the field and in Harrisburg. And I know you're fighting the fight for women, you're fighting the fight for unions, for workers, for the environment, and you're just out there making magic happen. And our goal is, if we can get people to come out and vote in this 2017 election, then we can get people to come out and vote in 2018 and get more help for you out in Harrisburg, which is ultimately essential. So go ahead.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you. It's really shocking right now. I mean, I think everything that people are frustrated about that's happening in Washington, D.C. is also happening in our state capital. It's often happening first, actually. We'll test drive some of the bad legislation that they then run in Washington, D.C., and yet it happens with people not knowing about it because there's less media coverage and there's less transparency. And I honestly think the people who are running the system in Harrisburg want to keep it that way. They don't want people to know about the votes we're taking. They don't want people to know about the bills that we're running, because they know if the average Pennsylvanian working family knew what was happening in Harrisburg, they'd be pretty angry about it.
I would like to just say congratulations, first off, but then I have a question for you. What is your role? Could you please tell us about your role as a member of the Labor Committee in Harrisburg?
Mm-hmm. Sure. So I serve on the Labor and Industry Committee. This is the committee where any legislation, unless the Speaker of the House figures out a way to get it to Darrell Metcalf's committee, which he will sometimes do for the craziest bills of all, but any legislation that has to do with the rights of workers comes through the Labor Committee. And right now, the Republicans have a supermajority in Harrisburg. What does that mean for the Labor Committee? Well, it means that the Speaker Turzai packs it with the most conservative Republicans. These are people who I truly believe hate unions, don't think that workers should have the right to organize, and want to take away some of the rights that folks in the labor movement have spent years and years and years organizing to earn. So that means that every week it seems like we're seeing a new right to work bill. It means that just this session, since the beginning of January, we have been fighting to protect the rights of workers who are injured on the job to get the medication they need to become healthy again. We have fought off attempts to make it even harder for people to get uninsurance compensation benefits if they're laid off on the job. And those are just two examples of some of the things that are running that most folks just don't even know are happening in Harrisburg.
Leanne, when you say the state of Pennsylvania is 49th, that resonates with me to be an awful place to be. Can we? How do we change that other than making the ask? Do you see light at the end of the tunnel?
Well, I can tell you that the last 3 seats that the Democrats flipped in Harrisburg were with strong women. I flipped a seat in 2015 when I won my special election. I was the first Democrat to flip a Republican seat in the whole state in 5 years. And then last November, Maureen Madden up in the Poconos and Carolyn Comita out in Chester County both flipped seats as well. So that to me is promising. And, the research shows that when women do run, they are just as successful as men are. They can raise the money, they're willing to work hard, and they often have compelling stories that really resonate with voters. So I have actually spent a lot of my time since winning my own seat 2 years ago recruiting other women to run. I was just out in Pittsburgh a couple of weeks ago with Emily's List doing a training. I've spoken at trainings in Philadelphia multiple times. And I think now more than ever after the November election, there's a lot of women who have woken up and realized that political decisions impact their families very, very directly, and they're not happy with what they're seeing. And so I and a few of my colleagues are really trying to pave the way for other women to run and to win.
Pennsylvania State Rep Leanne Krueger-Braneky joining us here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. We thank you for all of the good work on the Labor Committee, and we thank you for taking a moment or two on a Saturday night to join us for some good conversation. Leanne, thank you so much.
Sure. Thanks again for the invitation, and thanks for the work you do.
All right, good stuff. That is Pennsylvania State Rep Leanne Krueger-Braneky joining us as part of the conversation with Lauren Ethelind in the studio. We always run out of time when we have good topics, and tonight certainly is the case. I've got at least a minute each that I can provide for you. Ethelind, I started the show with you. Laura, I'm going to come to you first. A lot was covered tonight under the topic of women in labor and politics, and yet I feel as though we just started to scratch the surface.
Of course. And so on the CLUW side of things, we have a fundraiser coming up on October 11th at 5:30 p.m. It's our Women Against Abuse fundraiser. Women Against Abuse is the only union shelter in Philadelphia, and they only accept women, children of domestic violence. It will be on our website at PhillyCLUW, PhillyCLUW.org. That'll be up later tonight, so please check it out. I'm going to take a moment and take my CLUW hat off, because CLUW does not endorse candidates. We focus on the issues, but we do empower women to run for office. So if you're a woman listening, please run for office. And so taking my CLUW hat off,
hold that.
No, you're going to... All right, go for it.
I'm going to close that at the end. All right,
sweet.
Because you're walking the walk.
I'm walking the walk.
Yeah, you are. But before we do that, well done by Laura Wentz. Thank you. Thank you so much, Ethelind Baylor. I come to you for joining us. Thank you first for being part of the studio, for contributing, for starting the process 15 years ago. Whenever that was. 30 seconds.
Well, I would just like to say thank you for having me here this evening. This is a very important conversation. And as you said, we are just scratching the very surface of it. I think we need to encourage more women to run for office. I'm asking all of the women out here, please consider running for office. Not only consider running for office, we will support you in every way that we can. Thank you very much.
That's good stuff. That's Ethelind Baylor, the Vice President of AFSCME District Council 47. Laura Wentz, President of PhillyCLUW. who is running for Upper Darby Township Council at large. That vote is May 16th.
November
7th. I'm sorry.
November 7th
November
with
7th.
everyone
So that's coming up. Also, special thanks to Councilwoman Jannie Blackwell and State Rep Leanne Krueger-Braneky. Jordan Cooper from Sonesta, we thank you. J-Doc, travel safely. And for all of our listeners, I'm Joe Krause. See you next time.
This program is a paid commercial announcement and in no way represents the views of WPHT or its management.